Welcome to the Stronger Leader podcast, home of the hashtag Stronger movement, where we explore the fascinating tapestry of human experience. I'm your host, Tony Cardello. Each episode, we'll sit down with a remarkable guest to dive into their unique journeys, from successful business leaders to individuals who have faced the darkest of times and emerged stronger, even from some of the inspiring youth of this emerging generation. We'll also cover essential topics on marriage, leadership, as well as spiritual, physical, and mental health, all in hopes to provide you with the tools and motivation to navigate your own life's challenges. Whether you're here to learn, grow, or simply be inspired, there's something for everyone. So get comfy, settle in, and join us as we embark upon this journey together. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as well. Turn on the notifications so you'll know whenever we drop new content. All right, let's get started. Welcome to another episode of the Stronger Leader podcast with your host, Tony Cardello.
The crowd goes wild.
I'm here with a good friend of mine, my man, Josh Harris. Josh, what's up, man?
Hey, Tony, how you
doing? Doing great. All right. I know you guys are going to be in for a treat on this show. Josh and I, we share, I think, some similarities in some of our stories, similar past, some struggles we had growing up, and some things that we've been through in life and come out on the other side. And so where Josh and I had originally met was at church, both serving on the youth group at Switch. And are you still serving?
I am.
Yeah. So I took a step back for Tony Jr. to spend some time with him, and he'll be in 6th grade next year. So we'll be
right back.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. But so the reason I had Josh come on here, you know, he shares a lot of the common threads that we have with the Stronger Leader mission. And, you know, we like to have people on here of all sorts of walks of life with different stories, but nonetheless, number one, first and foremost, having God in your life. I think that is a super important, you know, fundamental basis of pretty much all the guests on here. There's been some different variations of belief systems on here, but everybody believes in God and understands Jesus on a level of some sort. So, you know, some further along in their faith walk than others. And, you know, that's part of this too, right?
Right.
But, you know, we also share some darkness that we've overcome and lived through. And so I think that this is going to be a great, I'm certain someone will listen to this and be encouraged by your story. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more about it as well and get a little deeper and understand who you are. So without further ado, Josh, why don't you give us, just a little basic upbringing, where you're from, where you grew up, you know, who you are, what you do, kids, married, all that good stuff.
All right. So
there's a lot there.
Yeah. Let's start with where I grew up. I grew up in the Kansas City surrounding area.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad were, newly married and had me as they're both of their first. I was their first child. My mom's ultimately only child.
Okay.
And I guess let me take a step back. So today, my wife and I, Heather, have been married for 25 years. I've got 3 boys. Blake is going on 24.
Mm-hmm.
My middle son Cooper is 19, and then my youngest Gavin is 16. We still live here in the Kansas City area, and now going back to how I was raised is, so my parents divorced when I was 10 months old, so I never knew my parents together.
Okay, got it. Interesting.
And then shortly after that, my mom tried to commit suicide, and so she was institutionalized after that attempt. And I went to live with my dad and my stepmom for a period of time. And during that time,
how old were you when your mom tried to commit suicide?
Between 10 months and a year.
Okay,
is
so
about what I've been able to.
Yep. Got it. Okay.
She had essentially, sent me down to my grandparents' house and had made a decision that she was going to take her life that night.
Okay.
So then I was sent to my dad and my stepmom's house, and there,
back up for a second.
Yep.
Did she actually commit suicide?
No, she did not.
Okay.
Yeah. So from there, I went back with my dad and my stepmom, and the outcome of that was my stepmom abused me. She would starve me. She would lock me up in a room away from her kids. And to the point one time where she actually staged a scenario where I was so hungry, I had got into the kitchen refrigerator and was trying to eat raw hamburger meat. And she actually tried to have me institutionalized as like a 2-year-old kid, insinuating that I was something was wrong with me. From there, I would go to be with my mom for like a weekend or my grandma's house, and they reported cigarette burns and bruises, and would try to report it, but nothing would ever come about of it. And ultimately, and this is something that really stuck with me for a long time, is my stepmom gave my dad an ultimatum and said it's either me or him. And so
they had 2 other kids.
I have a half brother, and then she had some 3 kids of her own.
Got it.
So it's like a really blended family at that time. But yeah, so she gave my dad the ultimatum, and he chose her.
Oh.
And so at that time, there wasn't anybody that could take me in. So I became a ward of the state. And after being a ward of the state for a little while, I'm not sure exactly what changed in the situation, but my grandmother took me in and essentially raised me for the next 12, 13, 14 years.
Mom's parents.
My dad's mom. Yeah.
Wow. She probably felt an obligation, right?
I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's not where I thought this was going. I thought this was very different.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that, there's a lot of things that happen through like early education, even through middle school.
So I'm in shock. So back up. You probably said this. So there's a lot to unpack here.
Mm-hmm.
So, when your stepmom gave your dad the ultimatum, how old were you?
2.
Okay.
2, 3.
Okay. All right. I guess overarching question everybody's going to have. Do you have any relationship with either of your parents at this point?
I do. My mom is no longer with us. She passed away at 57 years old, and we'll talk about that.
Okay. Yep. What about your father?
My father's alive, and we have a relationship today.
Wow. I'm gonna start getting emotional. Okay, so we gotta let's step through this. I mean, there's a lot to unpack and repack again. So let's okay. So you're 2 years old. Dad's gone. Grandma's now raising you. Grandfather too, or just grandma?
No, just my grandma.
Just grandma. Okay, so single grandmother raising you. What part of Kansas City? What part of the area?
We're in Claycoma.
Okay, Claycoma.
Yep.
Okay, so you're going through. She got you out of the state's custody and all that, and took full. And did she adopt you in full the whole thing?
No, I was a guardian. She was the guardian.
Guardian litem or whatever.
The entire time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, but did you have to spend any time in foster care at all? Or
just a little bit? I don't remember it, and
okay.
The people that raised me didn't know enough about it. I mean, there was a period of time where I had to have there was a social worker that had to witness visitations, and
do you remember any of that?
I don't remember it.
Okay.
The only thing is, and this is, it's a blessing and a curse.
Sure.
But my grandmother, she's a brutally honest person. If you ask her something, she's going to tell you. So it probably told me some things at some ages that I was probably too young to really hear, understand, comprehend. And so that was I had a lot of questions growing up.
I'm sure. So, at what point, at what age were you when you started realizing? Well, okay. First of all, at what age do you realize that? Did you always call her grandma? Was there a period that she was mom?
I still call her mom. Actually.
Okay. All right. So that was the dynamic. Mm-hmm. At what point? How old were you when you found out that she wasn't your mom?
I'd have to say somewhere 8, 10 years old, somewhere around there.
So how's that conversation come about?
It's just me asking. I mean, I'm like confused. Why do I call you mom? And why do I go with this person once a month?
Oh, because your mom's in your life.
My mom's still in my life.
Yeah.
But so that's really
what
confusing.
was her name?
Mom. I called her mom too.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. So okay. So at what point are you asking, where's my dad?
He's in and out.
Okay.
Yeah. It's more like 2 weekends a month that I'm going with them. And I mean,
so the ultimatum wasn't a complete and utter shut off. It was she didn't want you to have him to have full custody.
It was a complete shut off for about 3 to 4 years.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah,
so how does that reintroduction happen? And what was the catalyst for that? Was your dad like, I want to see my son? Or
I don't really remember. I think the one thing I remember about that situation is that my brother lived with my dad.
Your half brother.
My half brother.
Uh-huh.
And I was like,
why are you with my dad?
I didn't understand that. I'm like, what? I mean, and I think that goes back to it and some of the, just growing up, I didn't think my dad really wanted me.
Yeah.
So I've had to, combat that for a long time.
So tell me through your childhood, what's, because I'm sure it's not, you're being a normal kid at some point. You're playing, you're still doing,
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The confusion and the questions are probably in and out, right? They're intermediate. And, was there like, for lack of better terms, well, I don't even know what I would call it. Was there just moments like where you would kind of spiral for a little while, like be really confused and sad and wonder, or was it more just like, hey, why is this? And then you'd go on to whatever, or was there days and, weeks or whatever that you would spiral or be bothered by this? And you know what I mean? Like how'd you process this as a kid?
It was normal for me.
Yeah, that's true.
That was normal.
Yeah.
I didn't really know anything else.
Okay. So that's a good question. When did you realize that wasn't normal? I've heard that a lot with people that have gone through this stuff. Like it's not as bad as you think it is a kid, because of when you're born into that, it's normal. So it's not really traumatizing really until later, until you figure it out.
Yeah,
it isn't normal. So at what point in your life did this really start traumatizing you?
I'd say it probably 13, 14 years old.
Yeah, that's what I would figure.
And really what drove that is my grandma started, my mom started mm-hmm. losing control of me.
Yeah.
I started to just spiral. And then my parents decided that it was time to step in and be a larger part of my life. And that was just like, time out.
Yeah. Now you're rebellious.
Right. And now it just, I further spiral. I think,
when did drugs creep in? How old were you?
I think 7th grade. I got high the first time.
Same. Yeah. 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Smoke weed.
First time. But it wasn't, I didn't like it. I probably, did that plenty, growing up and through my teens and stuff. It just was never my thing.
Yeah, me neither. I did it just because I just did it.
Yeah.
But I didn't crave it and I didn't yearn for it. Never did. Okay, so at what point, walk me through some dark moments in those teen years. Like what, jail? You ever go to jail? You ever get in juvie? You ever do anything get you caught up like that?
Yeah, I had to go to juvenile court once. That was for, we had stolen some mail and, thought we were going to do something with the checks, and we got caught, and a neighborhood friend of mine, and so that was kind of the first introduction to like any sort of
court system.
Court system authority. And then I got arrested for the first time at 17, and I think I go back and look. There's like 23 different, charges over the probably from 17 to 20.
What was your crime of choice, I guess, for lack of better terms? What were you into?
It was
stealing.
So shoplifting was a big one. I had a third offense on that, so I actually had to do 90 days for that. Just different drug paraphernalia, concealed weapon charges, minor in possession, all over, aggravated assault, all over the place.
Were you aimless as a kid? Did you have any did you play sports at all in school?
I played baseball for a little while, not in school though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just rec ball, whatever. Did you go to Tonka for high school then?
No, I split my time between Oak Park and Park Hill, graduating from Oak Park.
Okay, got it. During those teen years, any sort of aim? Like, was there anything you wanted to be when you grew up? You know what I'm saying? Did you have any kind of career goals or, anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So that's I figured, 'cause wandering kind of aimlessly, right? With no.
Yeah. I think it's the, when you see life the way I did, and looking back, going into school, you want to be accepted. Yep. Right. And we were always poor. And socioeconomic status drives acceptance in school.
Yep.
So I kind of had to get in where I fit in at the time. And, I'm sure you've heard the saying, misery loves company.
Oh yeah.
I think misery yearns for a connection. If somebody's in a state of misery, that they want to be connected with other people. And so often that connection involves other people that are in misery. So we suffer together.
You start spiraling together. Yeah, absolutely. What, so tell me about any sort of spiritual introduction at all in your life, through any of the, from the beginning to these teen years.
There were a few like vacation Bible schools.
Okay.
Maybe a church service every couple years.
So grandma had some level of faith.
No, my grandma actually, she had none. It was mostly her mom and dad. When I would go to their house, I'd see their Bible up on the shelf. So
this would be your great grandparents.
My great grandparents.
Got
yeah.
It.
So
okay.
they would have like a footprints photo on the wall, and they do real quick grace over meals.
Yeah.
But that was really the majority of the introduction that I knew, but I didn't really know it because we never talked about it.
Right. Okay. So at what point, any major through those years as a teen, any major like rock bottom moments, or walk me through like because you're clearly doing okay now. You're in a good place in your life now, and so was there several instances of darkness and relapse as you're growing into early adult years, and so you've been married for 25 years. So did your wife get subjected to any of this stuff early in the marriage?
Not so much. The drug use, most of that had, I'd set most of that aside. She, a lot of drinking in our early years.
Yeah.
I didn't struggle with alcohol addiction, but I sure was an alcohol abuser.
Yeah, right.
So going back, I think what really turned turned me down the dark path was, well, I was 14 when my grandpa died. That's my mom's dad. And that just hit me hard. Nobody was really there to help me process that.
So back up for a moment. So were your grandparents, the one you called mom, because she was single, but so she was divorced from your grandfather?
She was. So that the grandpa I'm talking about would be my mom's dad.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because your mom's mom is the one that took you in, right? Oh no, that was your dad's.
My
dad's. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I missed that part. Okay.
Yep.
So your mom's folks, did you have a relationship with her mom? Your grandma on that side?
I did, but that was a very dysfunctional.
Were they divorced too?
They were divorced, but kind of together. He had a mistress.
That old. Yeah.
I mean, they were both alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
So they, I remember being young and visiting my grandma, my mom's mom, in, rehab, and going to visit her. And my grandpa was he was a really mean drunk. When, it was the kind of like.
Did your parents have you young? Were they young?
23, 24.
Okay, so normal. Got it. Okay.
20, 21,
it wasn't
24.
like a teen pregnancy
Right.
or nothing, what I'm saying. Yeah.
But they were very abusive towards each other. Well, alcohol fights, like physical fights. My grandpa would hit my grandma, and
you see this stuff happening?
I did not see that. My mom witnessed that growing up. That's the kind of upbringing that she had.
Mm-hmm.
And she was, grandma would take them and go to the nearest hotel and try to evade my grandpa. And so but he had changed by the time that we were, still loved to drink, still loved to, get in trouble, but he was really different to us grandkids than he was to his kids.
Hmm. You enjoyed being around him?
Yeah, I mean, he was fun.
So when he passed, that left a hole.
It did. Yeah, he took me fishing.
Yeah,
we went hunting. I'd go spend the summer on the farm, and that's help milk cows and help do stuff on the farm with him. And I actually started going down there as a way to. You need to get your stuff together.
Yeah. To get. Yeah, I could see that for sure. Okay, so that's 17, and you graduated. No college? Did you go straight into the workforce, or would you?
I mean, you could.
You tried college?
You could no. You could call it the workforce.
Okay.
I didn't really work a whole lot, but so so my junior year, I got kicked out of my dad's house,
mm-hmm.
and about 4 weeks before the end of the junior year, and I was a good student. I was fairly smart. If I did the work, I'd do well.
Grades were fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they were good enough that even with getting kicked out with 4 weeks left to go in my junior year, I still passed most of the classes. Yeah. Now I did have to, before I go there, so I spent that whole summer homeless on the streets of Kansas City.
At 16, 17.
Yeah. And during that time, my dad had kicked me out. He was married to my stepmom at that time. And they made a decision that I, needed to go from their house. And, my mom also emancipated me during that time. So I got served papers, and I'm like, what do you mean? What? And, to me, that was just it's kind of another feather in the cap, if you will, of we don't care about you.
Yeah.
We don't want you.
Yeah.
So that was a rough summer. A lot of drug use.
So that says
I witnessed a lot of things.
What was your drug
streets.
of choice when you started getting?
it was, I started out with cocaine, and then we started cooking it. I mean, that was the era of crack cocaine. So, started to use crack, and then later on that would change to crystal meth.
Yeah. Yep. Needles, ever do needles?
No.
Smoke?
You know what's interesting is I had some friends that did needles. I always had the opportunity to shoot up, but it was like this line that I had.
So crazy. I've never heard anyone else articulate it that way. Me too. I just didn't feel like a complete drug addict. Because I don't know what I know the line you're talking about. I didn't cross it either. I just felt like that was the one thing that I could always hold on to, that I still had control.
And
you know what I mean? I
just knew I wouldn't come back from it.
Exactly.
There was just something in me that said,
I was terrified.
You're done.
Yeah. I was terrified of that. The people I'd see shoot. Yes.
I mean, I watched, when one of the nights I was homeless, a friend that I had, we're 16. I watched her mom get in the back of a van with some guys and, do some favors in return for a high.
Yeah.
And she came out of the van struggling, and I'm looking at, her, and I'm just like, I mean, I'm 16 and it's crushing me.
Yeah.
And I'd seen what it had done to some of the people, and I'm just like, kind of like you said, I still have that. I'm better than you.
Yeah. It's that one little last ounce of dignity that you.
I'm not. Like you said, I'm not a complete drug addict, right? The reasoning's crazy.
Dude, I'm telling you, I rationalized it the exact same way. I'm like, man, I didn't do that shit. Meanwhile, I'm smoking it out of a light bulb out of a bathroom, some public bathroom in the middle of nowhere. I was an honorable drug user. Okay. Oh goodness. Okay. So, what was your awakening? How do you get your meth's tough, crack's tough. I've been through them all. What's your awakening? How do you shake that?
I think. For me, it was like a series of rock bottoms.
Yep.
Tell
me what some of them were.
I mean, I'll go right to the biggest one.
Okay.
Is and this is I was 23, I think.
When did you get married?
I was 24. So
Okay.
October 28th of 2000.
Were you using while you were dating your wife? Did she know anything about any drug use at all?
She knew that I had a past with drugs.
Okay.
I think I had one stint of drug use while we were dating, but it was mostly alcohol by that point.
Okay.
I actually got sent to, when I was in the Navy, I got sent to a CAC level 3, which is a substance abuse, the highest level substance abuse program that the military offers. So I went to that. And really, it was, again, we were drinking, we got rowdy, we're throwing, a little fight club in the barracks room, and threw a chair out the window, and so got a
court martial.
Destruction of government property and contributing to the delinquency of contributing to a minor, by purchasing alcohol for a minor. Mm-hmm. And so, what ultimately happened from that is I had to go to treatment. And so we went to treatment and was going through it. It was in Point Loma, San Diego. And then, so Liberty Weekend, we actually concocted a lie that we were going to go. I had got permission to go with a friend's family to Disneyland. That was going to be our Liberty Weekend. Well, the whole thing was made up. So we were going to Tijuana.
How?
So
I mean, it's like Disneyland. How old were you then?
I think 22, 23. Okay. And so we get there, and first thing we do is get some drugs.
Yeah, for sure.
Start living it up. 10 in the morning, doing lines and drinking. And so the first thing that happens is I'm in a stall in one of the bars, and the Mexican police kick in the door on the stall, and I'm like, I had just like gotten rid of it, so they knew I had something, so they were kind of
shaking you down.
Yeah, shaking me down, and ultimately my friend came in and we gave him like $60, and they went away.
Let me tell you something. So at almost identical story, we were at a strip club in Tijuana, and my buddy goes into the stall. The bathroom attendant, he asked him if he wanted. He asked the bathroom attendant if he wanted to bump, right? And he's like, no. And so he goes in there. So of course now they know we have drugs. Well, then the bouncers come pull us off the table, bring us outside, and they start shaking us down like, hey, and we're out in the parking garage now of this place. And it's like, hey, give me that gold chain on your neck, and, give me your watch, like shaking my buddy down. Right. And I'm like, come on guys. And they're like, hey, you want us to call the police? The police was like walking, like 100 yards away. He's like, I'll call the police over here. I'm like, bro, give me your chain. I was like, you're the idiot. So yeah, same thing. We got caught in the bathroom with blow.
Yep. So then we went on, hit a few other clubs, kind of scored some more. And we ended up getting with a group of San Diego State University students. Mm-hmm. And we went back to the dorm with them and just partied. And
guys, girls, bunch.
It was girls' dorm.
Okay,
so it was all girls. But I mean, we had them lined up in the hall and doing lines off the bathroom sink, and so it gets late, and we're out. All the drugs are gone, and I'm just like, I need a hit. I need, I got to keep going. And I literally found myself like, there's got to be more. We had to drop some. So I'm like combing the carpet. I'm sweating. I'm freaking out. And ultimately, get through the night. And then the next day we decided to, on the way back, one of the people at the treatment center was talking to us. And so we decided to pick up some steroids on the way back. So we got like 30 doses of what was Decaderbalin or something like that, and decided to try and bring them through customs. Well, we got caught.
That didn't work.
No, and growing up, my parents always told me I'd end up in one of three places by the time I was 25, and that I'd either end up dead, in jail, or a mental institution. So we're sitting back there in the interrogation room. They split us up. We kind of aligned our story beforehand, but they split us up, and I was like, man, they're right. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm going to have to make that phone call. And I thought it was about like trying to prove people wrong. Yeah. I was always really motivated by negative feedback. And I was just like, man, I'll have to make that call. Right. And I got arrested for drug trafficking. I'm not coming home anytime soon. And they knew we were from the military. They gave us a hard time, but they let us go.
Oh shit!
They took it and they let us go. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have like an immediate like change after that, but it really
kind of started jarring your system loose a little bit.
It did, yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh. Okay, wow. Well, okay, so you missed that whole Navy part when you were telling me about your grandma.
Yeah, we didn't. That was.
Wait, how old were you when you were in the Navy? And was that as a result of to get out of trouble of some sort? Like, hey,
it was. Yeah. Things weren't going to work here, and I was going to end up dead. I mean, even just that whole stint that I was homeless, and even through my senior year.
So the Navy to you didn't really feel punitive, but more of like a thread of hope, like something constructive to do with your life. Did you look at it as, I'm going to do something with my life.
It was kind of a last ditch effort.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. It was a lifesaver.
Yeah.
In a
And
sense.
because I didn't want to live.
Did you have any suicide ideation?
Absolutely. I mean, I spent
to the point of like thinking about doing it and like getting there.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I went up to, I go down I think the biggest thing, one is I dealt with the question of, am I, if I was to take my life, am I going to have to account to the people, like my grandma and my grandpa? What if I, what are they going to think? And or are they going to know? Or am I going to have to make an account to them for that if there is an afterlife? And I had enough connection with like my my mom and my dad,
loved, yeah.
and the time God's amazing, and I didn't even know it at the time. But the times I really felt like I would have done it, I didn't have the means, or the means weren't right in front of me.
Yeah.
But I really struggled with suicide. My mom, she ultimately took her life.
Yeah.
She died at 57.
Okay, so that's how she passed.
And she did it in a little more unconventional way, but yeah, she.
Now, was there? I know she tried when you were younger. Mm-hmm. Was there multiple attempts throughout life?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So wow, that's a a demon, 20, 30 year demon she dealt with, and finally got the best.
Yeah, she had a lot of just bad choices in men that
mm-hmm.
And I don't think she really grew emotionally past her teenage years. The whole idea of like arrested development, and I think unless we focus on ourselves, intentionally, emotionally, we're going to stay, wherever
it's proven
that happened.
Yeah, it's proven. It's proven. You look back and you look at people that and you understand, like especially like children that go through divorces in those teen years,
right?
And they have that emotional and the level of emotional intelligence of a teenager for forever.
And that was my mom.
Yeah,
I mean, she was emotionally, I'd say she was stuck as a 16, 17-year-old girl.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, that's really tough. Okay, so so you have this awakening when you're after you get arrested, Tijuana, partying still. When did you decide to quit doing drugs? Was there a did you just kind of, did it fade away, or did you put it down one day?
So the drugs, I just kind of, as I shifted my circle, the drugs just kind of faded away for me. Now the alcohol, I replaced that with alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, it's socially acceptable. I mean, you get your buddies, you go to the bar and have a beer. I mean, that's it's easy.
Yeah. And, so that was, so I quit drinking also. So my sobriety date is, April 9th, 2005.
Okay.
That's also the day I got baptized.
Oh, wow. Yeah. In 2005?
Yep.
When you got sober?
Mm-hmm.
It's just threw the towel in and got off. Let's wash it. Let's go.
Well, and I think it was, it really goes back to, this may sound crazy, may not. What really started to shift my mind is when I met my wife's family. Mm-hmm. And, sorry, it's like, I'm 24 years old and I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
I'd never seen a family that,
a family.
Yeah. I just never seen it. I'd never been a part of it. And here's these people, Bill and Sandy, that just welcome me in. They don't even ask any questions. They just start loving on me. And they accept me in their family. And here I have this, this model of a husband and a wife and children and of a home. And even when I was in the Navy, like we're talking boot camp, A school, I was really lonely. Cause when I went in the Navy, I literally went to the recruiter. 3 weeks later, I was gone. I had to leave. I was going to die.
Yeah.
I mean, there's.
You were homeless when you went to the Navy?
No, I was. My grandma had.
I mean, you had gotten back in the house or whatever.
I had, but it was begrudgingly. So
how old did you say you were when you went to the Navy?
20.
20. Okay. All right. And then, did you spend full time in the Navy, or did you get dishonorably discharged, honorably discharged?
I got out. I went up.
Anything ever come of that Tijuana arrest?
No, nothing. Nope.
Okay.
I got out in when I got out, I got honorably discharged, and it was really more of a I wanted to go a different direction in my career in the Navy, because where I was going to be stuck at this one duty station for really the next 20 years. And I wanted to do something different. So took the test, I passed, and, but they wouldn't let me, they wouldn't let me switch my job, and so from there, I just decided
what were you doing, and what did you want to do?
I was an aviation electronics technician, so I worked on the aircraft, on the flight line. I wanted to go to more of what they call an eye level, which is more instrumentation, working on the components of the aircraft and troubleshooting those, fixing them, repairing them, getting them ready to go back to O level.
So you were more in the mechanical side of the
technical. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Got it. Wow. That's cool. That's fun. You get to work on some pretty cool toys.
Yeah. It was an experience. I think it instilled some discipline into me.
Yeah.
Even though it was a time of partying. I think most, maybe not most, but a lot of military, guys like to party.
Young, for sure. I mean, you travel the world and on the government dime. Some coolness to that. Okay, so tell me. So you meet your wife. How'd you guys meet?
Through a friend at a bar.
Okay, yeah, just casual, normal.
Yeah,
right? That's how people meet. No big deal. No, there wasn't dating sites like
they
have now. These kids today got it easy.
No Snap.
Yeah.
I was like,
we actually had to go put in work to find girls.
We had to spell things out on pagers.
Yeah.
Man. What are you talking?
That's right. Absolutely. That's hilarious. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so you meet your wife, and her family have a Christian background?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
so obviously,
believers. Yeah.
Okay, is that where your faith starts to?
It does, and I did go to. Most of it was begrudgingly, but like I think I was 14. I went to a Youth for Christ camp, but that was, I was made to go, so I didn't want to be there anyways.
Looking back and knowing what you know now, just about God and how He works and how His hand was in your life the whole time, do you feel like there were some seeds planted back then?
100%.
Yeah. So I think so, and it's an important thing, because I think there's a lot of times where parents they want good for their kids, and they want them to get involved in stuff like that. And I'm like, he's not feeling it. He just doesn't really want to. I think as parents sometimes, I think we got to make our kids do things. We have to.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying force them their entire lives, but we have to make them try stuff. Because I think the seeds are the most important part, right?
Yeah.
That stuff comes and germinates over time, and then when those start taking root, you go back and you can start piecing it together, especially as you get older. It's super important. Okay. So, I want to know, cause you're a devout Christian now. When did that start happening? And what was the development of that?
I accepted Christ, shortly before my wife and I got married. I sat down with a gentleman by Pastor Ray Brewer at the time, Tiffany Fellowship Church, which is where her family went to church for forever. And so I sat down with him. I felt really, excited and kind of like, hey, this is cool. And then, but at that time, I was still having a hard time aligning my actions with being a follower of Jesus.
Yep, that's the natural.
And I was just I'm still a really bad person. I was just broken still. At that time. I mean, my wife put up with more than any reasonable person would put up with in terms of how I treated her. And it just goes back to, I think, a lot of the insecurities I had as like a kid, teenager. She's just going to leave like everyone else.
Yeah.
So let's just get this
it's almost
over
like you're
with.
pushing her.
And then I was controlling and just really, really insecure as a person. Still a boy, really. I mean, I'm in the frame of a man. I'm the age of a man, but I'm even at that point, I'm still a boy.
Yeah.
That started to change as I began to seek out Jesus and in the Word and really start to fight those battles in my mind about, okay, what does it mean to be a Christian? What it's still dealing with, is God real at times? And ultimately, I'm when I got baptized, that's when that's when I said, I'm all in.
All in, yeah.
Yep.
Did you at any point in that early phases were you conflicted by this love of God? How could he let all those things happen to you as a young kid? If God, did you ever have those questions?
I struggle with that. I think, even like coming to terms with that, there's a couple things. So like, I kind of looked at my life in like three different stages, if you will. And, one is where, we're a period of a time where other people are making choices for us, and we're the product of those choices.
Yeah.
And we're actually victims at that point.
Yeah. Right, for lack of better terms. Yeah, absolutely.
But then there comes a point when, okay, now you're making choices for yourself. And then, and that's on you. That was on me. And then there's that, that kind of that post, hey, I'm devoting my life to Jesus. I'm a Christ follower. And, I take responsibility for my actions and the things that happen around me.
Yeah, fully. So I think there's in that middle, that middle area is probably one of the toughest. And the reason I say that is because you're, right, like it or not, you're still kind of a victim of, even in that second, even though you have the ability to make choices, your formation of your belief systems of how to make choices came from those early years when you didn't have them. And so it's not, and so that those are done out of just because you don't know any better, right? It's just what you've seen, it's what you learn. We make a lot of choices based on our personal experiences and what we've been exposed to, right? And obviously, as the education, of that you are empowered spiritually and mentally to make choices outside of the way, you could break the generational curses, right? And so that until people really fully understand that power that the Holy Spirit gives you, they don't really get to fully experience that. They're just constant, perpetually, it's kind of like what your mom, just perpetually how do I always find myself in these terrible relationships? It's because you've done nothing spiritually to break the cycle.
Right.
And people just totally miss that mark, and they underestimate the power of it. And they're like, so you're telling me that in order to break these these generational deals, I have to be a Christian. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't see another better way, honestly. I mean, maybe there's another way. I just haven't seen too many successful ways. The dark ones, right?
Right.
And I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about people that have grown up with some trauma in their life, like what you went through. You're going to just continue to be in that cycle if you don't get Christ in your life to break that cycle. He's really the only one that can.
Yeah, and I had to really go through a process, a way that I had to find a way, and I had to really fight for it. It's to find a way, like, how can I process everything that's happened to me? And I had to contend with it. It wasn't, I mean, it happened. I can't just, there's certain things I can compartmentalize and move on. But I had to deal with it. It was eating me alive. And it was interfering with my ability to grow at that point.
Yeah.
I had to find the way that worked for me. And, so for me, that meant, I had to go to some of these places and like just face them personally.
Yeah.
And, some of the houses where things happened, I had to go to some of these places where I found myself as a teenager on the streets and just look at it and, really try to process what happened and where I am now. And, for my parents, my parents did the best they could with what they had, the tools that they were given at the given time.
Yeah, because they had shitty tools and resources.
Yeah. And so, for me, that's how I came to, understand that and really, internalize that they did the best they could. It's not their fault.
Yeah. And I think that, and I think with same, man, I go through this all the time, man. I see a lot of people that have broken and terrible relationships with their parents when they realize that their parents probably had a huge impact in causing, whatever angst they grew up or have in their life still. And then they start having resentment toward their parents instead of being like, hey man, that's where the whole Jesus thing steps in. You get that Holy Spirit, then you don't have to put that on your parents. And, hey, call it what it is. My parents were divorced when I was 5, Dad wasn't in the house, great father, loved me, never always told me, loved me, kissed on me when I was with him. But dude, I'm a guy and I have a son. I can't imagine effectively raising my son without being present every single day and him having the best possible outcome. Right. And my parents, they weren't afforded that opportunity for, they didn't have the tools and how to work through relationship problems or whatever. And so they thought divorcing was the best for us so that we didn't see the fighting and everything. So, regardless of their intentions, the impact was it affected me as a kid not having a dad in the home, but I know that it wasn't for the wrong reasons. So so all that I need to overcome, that trauma to overcome all that, I have to do it through my relationship with Jesus. And that's, the forgiveness and all of those things, right? I'm not giving my parents right or a pass for not working their marriage out. I'm not saying it's okay, or I'm not saying that parents, hey, it's okay to get a divorce if you just try your hardest. I think now as a society, we are more educated. We have more tools and resources. We have the ability to understand and sit and work through things. And you know what I mean? Our times are different. I think that divorce, in my opinion, now, as more common that it is, in my opinion, it's more unacceptable than it was before because we have the tools and resources and the education available to work through those things, But anyway, I get off on a little tangent on that because it's a pain point of mine, but I'm with you, man. And so, but listen, I think that another piece of this, your ability to overcome and forgive your parents and have that sort of mindset that you do, that's all rooted in your relationship with Jesus. That's not a healthy human reaction. That's a superhuman reaction. That's a supernatural reaction to be able to forgive, because there's people that have been through the very same thing that don't have Christ in their life, and they freaking hate their parents.
Well, they they hate themselves too.
And hate
usually.
themselves
Yeah,
too. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. So, it's funny. We have a lot of parallels in our life, very different story, but a lot of parallels in that is how we process it. Probably, just young boys processing life through, childish lenses, right?
We can do it on our own, right?
Yeah.
Right? How'd that work out for me?
Yeah, right. So let me ask you, because I struggle still. I know what some of my insecurities are, and I know what they're rooted in, and I know where they're from. And man, they come up. They do come up. I still have to process through them, and it sucks because it's like I know better, and I still get in these funks and these it's these insecurities that I have, and you get that? Does that those things still happen?
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whether it's just I still have those thoughts sometimes that creep in that just say, why you?
Yeah.
Why am I deserving of this?
1,000%.
And just trying to, usually I just try to bounce off of that and, okay, hey, I've earned, this. I've been, paying
20 years this year, 20 years sober this year.
Yeah.
For you, right?
Yeah. 20 years.
January 16th coming up is my decade.
Awesome. Yeah. That's amazing.
Decade, man. It's crazy. We're going to, I got a big announcement coming out on that day too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right around the corner.
Yeah. It's coming up. Man, great stuff. So, okay. So talk to me, marriage, wife's great. She's awesome. From a great family. You, rough start, not so much. And like you said, in the beginning years, mistreated her, wasn't the best. How'd you guys work through that? What was the turning point for you? They're like, hey, like this is, I'm supposed to take care of this girl.
I think we ended up at one point, we ended up in an attorney's office, and we're sitting there at the desk. And
kids at all at this point?
No. Okay. No, not yet. And she had left to go live at her parents for a little while. And, so I went, I'm like, oh, this must be what she wants. So I guess I'll just give it to her. And she's,
you knew it was a matter of time. She was going to leave you. Everybody else did, right?
And so we get in there, and then, she just stands up. She calls me an a-hole really, really loud, and walks out and slams the door. I'm like, I'm confused, but I mean,
what I was expecting.
I mean that was, better judgment on her part, but right. she wanted me to fight for her.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to do that. Yeah. So I had to try to figure that out. So I really poured into, just started reading some different literature, spending time in the Word, and just trying to, okay, what does a godly husband look like? Because I still didn't. I mean, I had heard that, but that's her dad, right? I don't know how he got to that point still. And so I had to really start, figuring out what did that look like. And so we're going to church, and, we got in a small group and accountability, group at that time. And, being around other men who were married and had families. And, so I just really started to immerse myself and try to better understand that. I wish I could say I'm perfect and I mastered that, but
it's a journey. We're on a journey. It's
right.
We're work in progress. Yeah.
But I mean, really, it's a lot of props to her for seeing something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Same. Same. Gosh. Well, you know the old saying, man, behind every good man's a great woman. There's just no way to spin that.
Yeah, I definitely married up. So
yeah, for sure. For sure. Me and Dominique have this conversation often. She always says she was 21, young and dumb. She's 5 years younger than I am. So Rico Suave came in and put the spell on her. But, well, dude, man, what a great story. Just a lot of, by all accord, man, you should be dead. You should be in jail. You started saying that your parents said one of three things. And I thought it was going to almost mirror. My dad used to tell me when he found out when I started kind of thought maybe I was messing around with drugs or whatever. Probably pretty sure I was dabbling. And he just told me, he's like, listen, are you fooling with them drugs? And I said, no, of course I'm lying. He said, well, I'm going to just tell you right now. I'm just going to give you a heads up. There's only one of three possible outcomes that will ever happen. He said, you're going to end up dead. You're going to end up in jail, or you're going to end up hooked on it, addicted. So that's it. Those are the only three possible outcomes with that stuff. He nailed two out of three of them. And if I'd have just given myself a little bit more time, I'm not here, not dead because I didn't try. You know what I mean? I never tried to commit suicide, but hell, you would have thought I had a death wish with the dumb stuff I was doing. So
yeah, I almost every use, it was like, let this be it.
Yeah.
I don't want to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I don't want to kill myself, but I don't want to wake up.
Yeah.
And I really used that to, I think for me, it really became, I mean, it's like my mission to break that cycle. If my kids were to grow up and go down that path, it wouldn't be because of anything that I did. Right. It would be because choices that they made on their own versus something that I contributed to their downfall. Yeah. It's just like that's the same reason I don't drink is it's not so much for me. I could go somewhere and have a drink and be fine. I don't want to be a part of something that could model the behavior, contribute to somebody else's downfall.
Yeah. Or even give the illusion that it's okay. Yeah.
Right.
Same. It's such a blessing for me as a father to have to walk this line of sobriety. The byproduct of that is we don't have any alcohol in the house, so I don't have to worry about my teenage kids being over here and us out to dinner and they're in our alcohol cabinet. You know what I mean? Line. Yeah. I did all that shit.
Yeah.
Listen, well, we raided every freaking liquor cabinet there was at all my friends' houses, and so it's just not here. So it's not even in their face. They don't see us drink. They don't, Dominique will have a cocktail at dinner or something like that, but she doesn't drink. She's not a drinker. It's been a blessing of a byproduct of me having to be sober. You're right. The kids just aren't subjected to it.
Yeah. One thing that, I think for us as parents that really brought Heather and I together is, and we haven't got to this point yet, but so all three of our kids had significant health issues.
Physical health issues.
Yeah. Physical health issues. So, Blake had to have heart surgery at 12 days old. So, one of the next to, even though the time was rough, the most pivotal moment in my life is when I got married. My wife is first and always has been 25 years. No matter the kid, kids are, so we put God first, then my wife, then the kids.
Yep.
And we've always been very intentional about that. And, but man, we were just brand new parents and, I think back and I'm like, I had a dad who at least at the time didn't seem to want me. Mm-hmm. And here I am, I've got a son who's, in heart failure and I'm like, I don't want to give him up.
Yeah. Right.
And so then Cooper also had some significant health issues. His were a little more chronic. It took us several months to figure out what was going on there with him.
All as babies?
All as babies.
Oh, gosh.
And then Gavin was the most acute. He was born and almost immediately went into respiratory distress, and really quickly started going downhill. I think about maybe 5-6 hours later, he was being transported to Children's Mercy. He was, and in that, during that transport, my wife's a nurse, but she's got to stay there because she's pregnant, and I got to go with Gavin. So I'm like, I'm torn in that moment. And because I'm like, my wife's here, I'm gonna go with my kid here. And so, his lung collapsed in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. So they had to do the chest tube. And so he had a tension, pneumothorax. He had to go on a ventilator. And then he had to go on, what's called the next stage of the ventilator, which is an oscillator, just to keep his lungs from wearing out. It doesn't deflate them as much. So it's kind of a,
Gotcha.
And they asked my wife if she knew what it was. And she's like, yeah, I know most kids, once they go on it, they don't come off. And so he went on the oscillator, and it was, and I think when things started to turn around, within a period of 24 hours, he was completely off the vent, completely off of oxygen, and we were preparing to take him home. So it's, I mean, just going through those,
Gosh,
it really,
what a day of hell.
yeah, it was,
no sleep.
I just remember I had a struggle there in my faith after that. I mean, it wasn't so much like, God was really able to see us through, Blake's acute heart surgery and condition and recovery, and comfort us, during that time. And even Cooper, that was long drawn out. That was like a 2-month ordeal that we really trying to figure out what was going on there. But we were able to find comfort. But when we decided to have Gavin, we had really weighed those two things. So, and then by the time that happened, it's just like tired.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can this happen? So I struggled a little bit after that. Just like, it was more of like, it wasn't like I don't believe in God. It wasn't like I'm walking away from God. It's like,
Just pissed off.
I'm mad.
Yeah.
I created some distance between God and myself. I remember in that room, I literally, at the time, it was like an iPod, but I had a music player, and I just put some headphones in, and I just put that 10th Avenue North By Your Side on repeat, and just bawled. Like, what do you do? I mean, it's like,
yeah, you're helpless.
Yeah.
Can't imagine. Yeah. We've only had one scare. We had, Aniela had tonsils out early, and she had some post-op bleeding. And it was so minor that we didn't know about it until later in the night. She had complained about her belly aching earlier in the day. We didn't know why. And, then all of a sudden we seen a little bit of blood around her mouth and kind of figured out, oh, she's having some post-op bleeding. Well, we didn't realize she had been swallowing blood all day long.
Oh, wow.
So when I took him to Children's Mercy, I dropped her. It was evening time. It was dark out, and I dropped them off at the door for her to go ahead and start the check-in process while I was going to go. Were we north? I can't remember which hospital we went to, but anyway, so I park and I go in and I walk in, and it's like a freaking murder scene all in the lobby in this big trail of blood. And I'm like, oh man, somebody's in a bad way. I didn't think nothing of it. And I'm like, and I went up to the counter. I was like, hey, I'm Aniela Cardello, my wife Dominique, a little brown hair girl. Do you know where they are? Whatever. Like, yeah, I'll follow that blood trail. I was like, no, it's different girl. And she's like, no, the little girl with the pigtail. I was like, yeah, follow that blood.
Wow.
And so,
yeah.
I mean, it was bad. It was a lot of freaking blood. And I'm just like, there was no way, there was nothing trauma like that for that much blood to be there. Well, come to find out, she'd been literally swallowing blood all day long.
Oh my goodness.
That's why. And so when they got her in there, and I just remember coming around the corner, and they got a doctor on each arm, a doctor on each leg, holding her down, and they're trying to find IV, and she's like a trooper. She ain't crying. She's just like wondering what the hell's going on, right? And I just remember I come around the corner and she goes, "Daddy, help me." And she's like, I can't even remember, maybe 3, 4, she's not very old, right? But she's like, "Daddy, help me." And I went over there. I was like, "It's okay, baby." I said, "It's all right. I got you." If and I wasn't doing good in my life at this point. I was a freaking renegade, right? I said, "It's all right." I said, if any of them hurt you, Daddy's going to hurt them. And I looked at all of them like, and I'm all tatted up, and so anyway, it worked out. It wasn't, but I remember that empty feeling of like, I had to rely on all these people to do whatever it was. I was helpless.
Right.
I was completely, I didn't know what to do. There was nothing I could do. It was out of my realm at that point. And man, that helpless feeling when it comes to your kids, just terrible. I couldn't imagine going through it several times. You've got the patience of Job, my man.
I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to look back and make that determination, right?
Okay, so this is a part of my show where, well, first of all, let me ask you, we've been trying to get together for a little while now. Anything that you were wanting to share, anything on this show that any messages you were wanting to get out, or anything, any topics that you were wanting to cover, that you thought would be, relevant to the ministry that I'm doing, or just anything on your mind that we didn't get into that you hoped we would?
I think it's just it's just as a generation being, for people to be very intentional about breaking these generational curses. I've made that if that is the only thing I do in this life, I will have done everything, that really matters going forward, and showing our kids, what it looks like to be a man of God, to be a family of God, to be a husband and wife, to not be perfect, but to what does that look like? And I tend to lead by example. I don't really usually talk a lot, but if you follow me, then I'll
more do, less say.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, just if I can, if God can make a better mess out of the mess that I made, he can do that with anyone.
Yeah.
And I think it's just be intentional about it. Focus, work through be willing to go through and revisit the pain that may be holding, someone back, and just be intentional about dealing with it.
Yeah. Being vulnerable as well, maybe.
Yeah. I think, and that's kind of where I'm at now. I've shared my testimony with a few youth groups, but I'm sitting back and like, God did not allow me to go through all of this and not share it with people, and not to be, an example.
I feel the same.
It's just,
it's almost our obligation.
It is. And I've just sat back and, for too long, and I've done it here and there, but I need to be more intentional with it myself, because I want to help others. I want others to have an example of Because the other thing is, it's not going to be perfect, right? I really believe the whole sins of your father.
Yep.
These things are passed on. These character traits, they're passed on. They're in our DNA. If you start looking at like epigenetics and things like that, it's there.
Yep.
But let's water it down over time, right? And I think when we're intentional about it, we pray about it, we take action on it. And I think we can change this.
There's no doubt in my mind we can. Yeah. And that's definitely a big fuel for the ministry here. It's me too. That's kind of where I'm at. Why I'm kind of pressing into this a little bit more. There's some, I don't want to call it selfish, but I have a little selfish motivation behind some of the stuff that I do, and more for myself, so I can make myself. I just told the story today. I spent 37 years of my life stealing from this planet. I took virginity from young girls. I gave people drugs for the first time that they'd never tried them. I exposed a lot of people to a lot of things, not because I was a bad person. I didn't set out. I wasn't evil trying to wreck people's lives. The fact of the matter is, I did, and I spent many, many years doing that unintentionally, but it doesn't matter. The impact of what I did was great. So I owe it back to humanity, and I owe it to God to do a work for Him here, of reversing some of that. If not reversing, maybe reversing some of it, right? Some maybe catch, because listen, hey, what if you had a you when you were back then? What if you had a you to lean on, and I look at me, who I am now. If I would have had a guy like me take me under his wing back then, it would have been exactly what I needed, right?
Right.
Somebody said that the other day in a podcast. We tend to help the people that we once were, and that is it's so true. But who better qualified are we to help than the people we once were, right? I mean, that's natural, but that's also our natural draw, right? We want to help the people that we once were, and yeah, man, it makes me feel I am so resolved with dying today and going. I know I get to go to heaven. I know I'm excited to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant." I'm excited. I know I get to hear that. I do. And that's why I'm going to keep doing, because I'm doing it, right? I'm doing it. I get to hear that. And so that's what drives me to want to continue to do it, right? And it does. It is what it is. I feel good about myself for doing it. I feel like I'm doing the right thing. Finally. I didn't for so long, right?
I think it's really cool what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I think this is great. And, we need more people, fighting for our youth, our men, our families. And so I really appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. Well, you're part of it, bro. Arm in arm, man. We do this. We're better together, right? The doctor that I see, Dr. Wayne, he said, no one can be the best version of themselves by themselves, and we were never meant to be by ourselves. From the very first get-go, God created, Eve so that Adam wouldn't be alone, and that's just it. We're not supposed to be alone in anything that we do, and that's the devil's number one tactic, is to isolate,
right?
Because it's the most effective, right? It is the most effective, is that isolation. I know, man. I get wrapped up in it sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to do nothing. It's like, that's exactly what he wants. Like, no, bring people around me, even though I don't want it, and you snap out of it. But anyway.
Yeah, and I think something else is like, surround yourself with people that are where you want to be. I think almost every, and I actually, I have the opportunity to lead a maintenance and reliability team today for a Fortune 10 company. And I share it. Almost everything that I learned from, whether it be a parent, a subordinate, it was almost everything was negative. I never had that person that came beside me and says, here's how. So it was always, I don't want to be like that person.
Yeah.
I don't want to, don't want to be like that when I grow up. And I would just kind of, make mental notes of these things. I'm like, I'm not going to be that dad. I'm not going to be that.
Yeah, it's a reverse way of looking at it, because the healthy way is obviously you want to look around for positive influence and model that. And it's almost like you were looking around for the negative influence of what not to do.
That's how I had to. I mean, for me, that's the only way I could make sense of it.
Yeah.
Because I knew it wasn't like, something's not right. And that was just kind of always in my, I'm a very curious, kid. I was a very curious teenager.
Adventurous.
I'm still curious today.
Yeah.
And probably one of my most, I'd say it's one of my best traits, but it's just that curiosity it just drives me to want to be better and to be a different leader, somebody that's empathetic, somebody that people can approach, and personable and still be able to lead the team and drive results. So
let's talk about that real quick before we close out of here. What do you do now for a career? What's your job now?
So I am a senior director of maintenance, essentially, for a pharmaceutical distributor.
Okay.
And so I lead a team of
Are you here?
Maintenance professionals, and so we have 46 distribution centers that we support.
Gotcha.
So
you travel a lot for work.
I do travel.
Yeah. How do you like that?
It's actually slowed down a little bit, but we've been able to make it work for us.
I used to like traveling a little bit for work. It's kind of fun.
All my travel is quick usually.
Yeah.
I mean, at the most, I'm out. Travel day Monday, travel day Friday. That's the most.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's out Monday, back Wednesday night or Thursday morning or something like that.
Yeah, that's good. So. That's cool. How long have you been with the company?
Just going on 21 years in April. I mean, a lot changed for me.
So listen, I mean, but think about this. There's nothing to really like overlook. Let's talk about like you quit using drugs, you quit drinking, you press into your spiritual life, you get married, and all around that time you get a career, and just look at what your life does, the trajectory your life starts going on when you start piling good choice after good choice after good choice. You look up 25 years later, you're still married to the same woman, great kids, great job that you've been at for 20 plus years. I mean, that's it, dude. That's the cheat code. You know what I mean? That's the codex. Follow that. For more advice, follow Josh Harris. So yeah, seriously though, right?
Yeah.
But if you boil it down in the simplest forms, it's you stop doing drugs and stop drinking. You got in the Bible and started following Jesus. Everything else just starts falling into place.
It did. 2005 was an incredible. I mean, if I had to pick a year, 2005 again. That was the year I got baptized.
Yeah.
That was the year I made a decision to be very intentional about everything that was, going to happen from that point forward.
That's the key that you guys have to understand that's listening to this. He didn't get baptized, and Jesus isn't a magician. He's God. Okay. It's different. It's beyond magical. All right. It's not just, abracadabra. You're going to the water, you come back up, your life's better. It's all it does is it gives you're filled with the Holy Spirit, and you now have the ability to make choices. There's Pastor Stephen Furtick says it, and it's a quote. It's one of my most favorite quotes. The proof of the power and the presence of God is not in the absence of attack. It's the ability of the believer to withstand it. So, as you accept Christ into your life, your armor becomes thicker. You can withstand more, right? It doesn't mean the attacks stop. Life just is all of a sudden, oh, he's one of them Jesus guys. Life's good.
Yeah.
No, bro.
I mean, yeah, nice, right?
Yeah. You wouldn't have sat in the hospital wondering if your kid's going to be alive 3 different times, right? That's not. That's not what Christianity is. Christianity is your ability to overcome those things in this fallen world that we live in. So, thank you for modeling that and being a great example of that. I mean, more people need to hear that, because I think that's the hesitation of making that leap into getting a spiritual life. It's like, or to stay in it. Okay, they made the leap. Life isn't getting any better. In fact, it's getting worse. Naturally, man, you were on the devil's team for a while.
Yeah,
he's
in
pissed.
all likelihood, that's going to happen.
Yeah, right. I mean, especially if you dive all the way in,
right?
and for guys like you and I who were really bad, and we were on the devil's like A squad, he's pissed. You turn your life over to Jesus. They lost the darkness. Lost one of the best soldiers, right? They're not going to give up easy.
Yeah, I mean, we're helping him fight his battle in his realm.
No question. And if you stop doing that, he ain't going to be happy.
Right.
And so, those are the facts, man. Those are the facts. But your ability to withstand and get past and get through all that stuff is greater than it'll ever be without. And so, anyway, thanks for modeling that. I could go on and on about that stuff, right? Well, cool, man. Josh, this has been really good. It was way deeper. Your life is what, listen, just another tale of a guy overcoming some drugs and overcome. I was just curious of what your substance abuse was and all that. I had no idea the depth of really even before the drugs. And that's for you to overcome what you've overcome. You have earned, like you said earlier, it's choice. You made a lot of choices in spite of some circumstances that were delivered to you pretty shitty. You know what I mean? And by all accord, man, you would have every right. Nobody would be upset with you if you were a deadbeat. It would be like, poor guy. He had it rough. Parents didn't want him, bless his soul. That's people are just like, they don't look at this and say, holy shit. You know what I mean? So I do. I think it's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Every one of these stories are awesome to me. I love it.
And I just be clear that people ask for proof of Jesus. I'm it. I don't get you don't overcome that. A mess doesn't clean up itself.
No.
And so it's just not possible without my salvation, without my relationship with Jesus. And
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I haven't. When I was going through my addiction counseling in the very beginning, when Dominique and when I first got saved, I was joked that the God has a sense of humor, because I was like on fire for Jesus, right? I just quit using drugs and gave my life to Christ, and I was all in, right? Well, the doctor, I had went through a couple of different addiction counselors. One of them was like this. It was a Christian counselor, and he was like softer than cotton. I mean, this guy, I needed somebody that could hold me accountable, right? I'm an alpha male. Yeah, you got to call me on my shit. God pairs me with the perfect doctor. He's a foul-mouthed Jew from New York while I'm seeking, literally, right? And this guy would like just crucify me for the dumb stuff that I would say. And, he would hold me like to a high level of accountability. Dr. Bruce Lee's from KU, man. I every day on my sobriety every year I send him a text telling him I'm still going, but he would tease me. I'd be like, oh yeah, we went to church, and he'd like, oh yeah, Jesus, and he would like kind of mock, and then like, I don't know, a couple, 2 or 3 weeks later, after one of the times he really jacked with me, he said, hey, I want to tell you something. I tease you about you being a Christian because I'm Jewish. It's an easy joke. I really think that what you're doing with your spiritual life is absolutely awesome. And he goes, in fact, the ability for you to overcome this addiction is the success rate is going to be so much more dramatic and higher having that spiritual grounding in your life. He goes, as a clinician that knows, whether you're a Muslim or a Christian or whatever, I just know that spiritual grounding is very, very important. And you're submitting to the higher authority, right? And the power, and that's AA and all those, and they're all, so everyone, even scientists, psychologists, everyone knows that the spiritual piece of healing is a very important component. let me just encourage you guys and layer another truth on that it's Jesus, not the other religions, not, and I'm not trying to knock any of the other ones, but Jesus, Christianity, Jesus Christ is the truth. That is the true religion. So if you're out there looking for some spiritual grounding because you're going through something, just go straight to Jesus.
Right.
Bypass everything else. I promise to you, that's the truth.
I mean, to me, I was a bad person.
Yeah.
The guilt had gone to shame, and Jesus says otherwise.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah, you are who I say you are. That's right. I could talk to you all night about this stuff. Yeah, for sure. Well, Josh, thanks a ton, man, and pray special blessing over you and your family. And listen, raising kids ain't easy. We still got our work cut out for us, right? They'll be on their own one day, but for now, we got to put our work in.
Yep, we do. Let's do it.
All right, man. I'm gonna do my little outro, and we're gonna get out of here. Well, that's another successful episode of the Stronger Leader podcast with our guest, Josh Harris. Man, Josh, thank you so much for coming on and being part of this. Your story's great. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. And I appreciate you. I'm humbled and honored to call you my friend. So thank you, Tony. Yeah, appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Hit that bell for all the notifications so you know when the new stuff drops. Be good, be blessed, and be stronger. Peace. That was great.